Welcome to the Jeremy Hill Show. If you're easily triggered, leave now because this is not the show for you. Now, right now, this topic is going to be something quite interesting to me. I'm going to discuss generational curses. I want to talk about how black women, in particular, in my most humble opinion, create generational curses that they pass down to their sons and daughters. Now, I'm going to be using these clips out of fair use, and this is an educational video. And for those of you who don't know what a generational curse is, really, I wouldn't say it's a curse. It's just a bunch of patterns and thought processes that is passed down from one generation to another. Did you know that being 304 can be a generational curse as well? Because if a daughter sees her mother being real freaky also and in them streets, she can pick it up and pass it on to her children. So we're going to go ahead and get into these things right quick and see if we can fix this up real nice and proper. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, as I pull it up on the screen for you. Let's get into it.
3 things I did right in raising my children to break generational curses. Number 3, I moved the hell away from my family.
Bingo. First point. Sometimes, well, nearly all the time, the generational curses that young women and young men experience is because of family members or someone that they are raised around, people that are their peers, people that they respect, or even people who they don't respect. They'll pick up negative things. If you're in a negative environment, like they say, you are a product of your environment. Every household has a culture, not just a ethnic group where you have Latinos, they may celebrate certain holidays that black people don't celebrate. For example, right? A culture is not always restricted to a group of ethnic group people. A culture can simply mean that you are raised in a household where they demonstrate, they behave in certain ways that you pick up. So these behaviors mold you. The things that are being said by toxic mothers and toxic fathers can mold a child. So if a child is raised in a household where daddy is physically abusive, or if mama is physically abusive, if mama is dismissive of a child's needs, that child is experiencing a toxic culture. And that culture is being ingrained in that child. So when she gets into a relationship with someone, she brings these toxic traits that she learned in the culture of her household. And these negative actions are passed down from generation to generation, from child, from daughter to son, from son to his own children. So you have to get away from your family sometime, because your family most times is the core of the fact that you are demonstrating symptoms of having a generational curse or bad generational thought processes and behaviors. Let's keep going.
I moved. I got the hell out of that small town, and I got the hell away from my parents and my family. I always wanted to leave. I have the journal entries to prove it. In 2012, I was diagnosed with major depression, bipolar 2 disorder.
That's something else I want to say. Depression, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, is also passed down. If your mother was a depressed person, your daddy was a depressed person, and if their actions was depressing, meaning that they did things that made you depressed, you see how they cope with the depression. You see how they act with people. You will tend to pick up these mannerisms, and you will tend to react to people the same way that your peers or your family members acted towards them. Did you know? I'll get into that later with another clip. Let's just keep going. I got something else I want to make another point on. Let's keep going.
I received that diagnosis while being a patient in a hospital because my depression had got that bad. The therapist at that time had her daughter take me to the hospital. While I was in the hospital, 2 people came to visit me, my cousin and my kid's father. I didn't fight having to go to the
I apologize for the clip may have a weird audio. That's the clip. It's not my program. I hope you can hear it.
Hospital because I knew I needed help. I had 3 kids by myself, and I was suicidal. The only thing I was afraid of was my kids having to go with one of my parents. So I asked their father, my ex-husband, to take them. He came to the hospital, and his story was, I just want you to get help. You're the mother of my kids. If you're not good, then my kid's not good. You know, the kids are good. Those are my kids. The kids are good. You ain't got to worry about nothing. You just worry about yourself. He was going to be taking care of my kids. I gave him my belongings that was locked up at the hospital so that he could take care of my kids, make sure they got back and forth to school, make sure they had school clothes and they were able to eat. I was in the hospital for a week, and when I got out, he had emptied out my bank account, emptied out my savings, ramshacked my apartment, took my kids' birth certificates, social security cards, took all of their belongings. You would have thought the FBI, the IRS, ICE, everybody had ran through my apartment and was looking for something the way my apartment looked when I got out.
Now, I want to say something about that. Most people who are dealing with generational curses, quote unquote, especially women, tend to date the wrong men. Did you know, ladies, that when your children, your daughters see you sleep around with many men, see you deal with Pookie, Ray Ray, Nook Nook, and the rest of them, they believe that's the way it should be. Even if they see mama getting punched up, knocked around, thrown out the window and shit like that, they associate that with true love. Some women do. So you passing this ideal that toxicity and dysfunction is okay in a relationship. And this will continue on and continue on and continue on. I'm gonna get out of it because the audio was messing up on that. I'll put another up there on the screen for you. So generational curses ain't nothing more but behaviors that you have learned from watching other people. All it is therapy, and you have to move away, like the lady said, from people. Get away from them. Surround yourself around people who act the way that you would like to act. Don't be around people who act the way that you don't want to be. Let me put this up here. Listen to Mary J. Blige and Taraji P. Henson. I want you to see that being an independent, strong black woman is actually a generational curse. You're teaching your daughters how to not want to be with men, to not cooperate with men. Each generation who falls underneath that generational curse will want men less and less unless it's for money. Let's get it.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, because you gotta love yourself first before you can love someone else. Like so you put yourself first, and you found that self-love, so you just feel so good and so confident. Because before you was like looking for love in someone else. Always. So you love yourself, you more confident. It's like,
you know what I noticed though, for our generation, it took us now to get that. But this younger generation,
they got it.
Mm-hmm.
Where did they get it from, Taraji? From your generation. When you was out there talking about scrubs, can you pay my bills, my telephone bill? No romance without finance. When you was out there teaching that and living that, you taught that to these younger generation of women that we are struggling with. You have taught this to your daughters. Now the younger men are trying to become passport bros because they cannot deal with the monsters that you have created. You have created these women. You're sad. Mary J. Blige is bitter as well. Taraji, from a whole lot of videos crying and shit, talking about I got all the money, but I'm not happy because you have took this ideology of independence. I am an island. No one can do nothing for me. I can do everything for myself. I don't need you, but I want you. I don't need you though. You have taught these to your daughters and you have failed your daughters. Now they're going to live a worse fate than you are. Lonely, bitter, can't keep no man. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
You guys are so confident and way more confident than what we were. Mm-hmm. So is it your environment or where you came up at? Because when we were growing up, it was women that was always crying, getting abused, dying on drugs.
It's always the worst case scenario. I was born in the 70s, lived part of my life in the 80s, of course, but raised in the 90s. I can guarantee you, not every black woman I met was going through that shit what she's talking about. This is a way of deflecting. This is a way of denying the fact that you have put yourself in a position of where men do not want you. You're trying to justify it, rationalize your unwillingness to deal with a man. So now you pass this bullshit down to the younger generation. And it's sad because they're looking at you as if you are a great role model, when you are actually the reason for the destruction of the black family.
Hate themselves. That's an environment we came from. And so we ended up being exactly that.
Right.
So what is it like about,
I think for me, it's like, I kind of was raised off of like survival. So my mama was like always like, she used to, hustle. So she was always like in the streets and she always was getting it on her own. So she always...
Again, Most women are dating for survival, like she said. They are not taking time to teach their daughters how to be feminine and to be loving to a man or to receive love from a man. It's all about the bottom line. This scarcity mindset, this hateful-hearted, mean-spiritedness is infectious. Misery loves company. And your misery is also reaching out to men and trying to make them miserable as well.
Like, I'm doing this on my own. I don't need you for shit. So that's kind of like how she raised me. Well, my mom was like that too.
We raised this generation. So we actually started the strong black woman.
We did.
We started that.
There you go. Like I said, when I say mothers are failing the daughters, that's what I mean. She told you. They started it. I'm going to tell you where it really started in the 90s. That's when I started really seeing it in the later part of the 90s to the early 2000s. They have taught these daughters to not want a man, but they're not teaching them that they're going to be lonely if they take this path. Think about it. Why you think the divorce rate's so high?
We definitely did. Yeah, we started it, so they are the residual of us finding our voice. Yeah, we were still coming from abusive situations, but we walked.
Every woman was not abused. Mary J. Blige got with Casey. She got abused by him, apparently. That's her fault. You choosing these pookies. Taraji, I don't never remember when you got abused that you said. All right, listen now. You said you was a voice. Now you are a voice of depression. You are a voice of sadness and loneliness. A voice of desperation. A voice of, I wish I can find a man, but I can't get a man. That's your voice now. And you have passed this voice down to these other women.
We got out of it. Went out with the generation before us, stayed in it. Because remember, they stayed married no matter what.
Right.
You know, we were the first.
That's called commitment and vows. And they're going to go right to the same shit saying that the older grandmothers, your grandmothers, the only reason why they stayed with their men was because there was loving them, but their men, their husband was whooping on them. Every one of these stories always ends with a woman getting her ass whooped, according to them, in my most humble opinion. Do you really believe all your grandmothers were getting beat up? That's a lie. They stayed with these men because they understood commitment and they loved their family. They put the family before their own happiness, as it should be.
First generation to step out and say, you know what? I'm not happy. I want a divorce.
What's so crazy is I don't want to be married because I didn't grow up to see nobody get married, or I never been to a wedding. I don't come from that. And then it's like the people that
She don't want to get married. What hope do we have in our community?
did know that was kind of like married, they was miserable. And I felt like I don't never want to go through that.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's why I'm kind of like different a little bit. Like I don't.
And you know what? I've never been married. I've been to weddings. I've seen successful marriages. I've seen marriages that didn't make it. And at this age that I am now, I've never been married, been engaged twice. You know, when you're younger, it's like, I want to have a...
Most black women are engaged. They get more engagement than they get proposals to marriage. Well, I can't say it like that. Most women have failed engagements. You get what I'm saying? They don't seem to make it to the marriage part. There are a lot of women walking around right now who have been proposed to but never went to marriage. And it's their fault.
You know, when you're younger, it's like, I want to have a fairy tale wedding. And I don't know, I think I'm good on that.
Baby, honey child, if you was good on that, you wouldn't be crying on social media talking about, no, I have a sad life. You're incomplete because you're missing your rib. Oh, well, they say they the rib, but you came from man. Hence the word woman, because you came out the womb of a man. Adam, Eve. Eve came from the womb of a man. Womb, man. Womb, man. If it wasn't for God, permission and grace to use the man to create you, you would not be here. But understand, when he made you to serve the man. When he first made Adam, he made him control and have authority and maintain the garden. Everybody has a role to play. Your role is not to be the highest educated or the highest paid. Your role is to shut the hell up and serve the man. I'm just being honest with you. Anyway, you let me know what you think about this. I'm probably gonna do something with this later on, I'm thinking. What for to say? Yeah, anyway, we're talking about generational curses. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'll see y'all later on. You have a good one now. You hear? Be safe.
Say that you